Morning. Pat, pat. Hello, Hammy. Neko Kaneko. Epic Pikachu. I'm not doing a backflip. I can't do a backflip. First off, I'm also not here to entertain you. Oh, it's time to get a new camera tripod. That is where we're at on episode 325 of the Popcast. Time for new equipment. Morning, Keone. Congrats on having a former Wolf winning the finals last 2 nights ago. It's happened 4 times. What are the other times? Kevin Garnett. With the Celtics. Kevin Love with the Cavaliers. Who's the 4th? Andrew Wiggins. Well, Andrew Wiggins wasn't. Yeah, I guess that's fair, actually. Forgot about Andrew Wiggins. I think we all need a change of scenery. By the way, we may be streaming live to TikTok right now. I held up my end of the bargain. I hit the live on TikTok button. So if there's any TikTokers in chat. Well, first off, you're not going to show up on the overlay. But, you are what's wrong with the world. Your brain, whatever's left of it, is completely unusable and cannot contribute to the rest of the planet in any meaningful kind of way. But I appreciate your viewership nonetheless. You guys want me to do dances and backflips today? I'm 35. Those days are over. There is consequences to too much movement without stretching. The kids are not okay, but my kid will be more than okay. Can we back the zoom up a little bit? Can we do that? Do we really need to zoom in this much? Whoa! Maybe we could increase it a little bit. That looks good. That looks great. That's perfect. Let's leave it like that. Oh, no, did I? Oh. Shoot. Shoot. Hello, TTV Matt, the Octoling. Tell me at 34 I can't be part of Legends of the Hidden Temple anymore. The Shrine of the Silver Monkey. Those kids. It is unacceptable how bad everyone was with the Shrine of the Silver Monkey. And I understand I've never personally done it. And I've never been on TV. And I've never had that kind of pressure of having to put together this plastic monkey idol thing under those conditions. I understand that. It still just does not seem acceptable to me that the Shrine of the Silver Monkey was that much of a gatekeeper for every kid that went into that temple. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or TikTok, while you were coming up with a rating system to determine how good the Direct was, waking up early to watch the Japan Twitch viewing parties, wondering as a New Yorker if you should be excited or scared that the Knicks won the NBA Finals. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. No episode of the Popcast last week, but I did get my thoughts out that I wanted to get out last week on a different show. I was on Beep, broadcasting esports every play. That was the one last Friday. I was joined by Shaq and Falco, hosted by CKK. I didn't have time to sit down and write out my thoughts last week. It's been a pretty busy summer for me, and it's going to be even busier as the summer moves along. And I just kind of reached out to Beep and was like, hey, can we just do a show? Like it's a lot easier just to be on a panel. I don't have to write anything. I can just go on and just talk. And that was great. I had a lot of fun doing that, and would like to do more of those kinds of things in the future. That episode is up on, if you go to broadcastingesportseveryplay.gov/beep, you'll find the VOD of every single episode numbered of that show, and kind of tune in for that. We talked about the Splatoon 3 North American playoffs. We previewed that. We talked about the patches. And that was pretty much it. But we got like 2 hours of yapping out of that. So some good stuff there. I think we also briefly talked about Global Gauntlet, Splat World Series stuff. Good times. Good times had by all, unless it wasn't. The Direct came out on Tuesday, which is yay. I'm glad that Directs are still a thing. I was kind of wondering if with the Star Fox thing, which once again, why do they look like real animals? It's a video game. Why do they look like real animals? I thought with the Star Fox only Direct that's just how they're going to do big announcements. Oh, we're just going to just give out these games at a time. I missed the Directs, and I didn't have to miss them long because they came out with one on Tuesday. I've said on this show many times I do not have a Switch 2, and I will not get one until there is a reason for me to get one. I've been playing Donkey Kong 64 on the Nintendo 64 thing on my Switch 1, and that's been keeping me pretty happy and satisfied. Why do I need a Switch 2? The Ocarina of Time remake, I know they're playing the nostalgia card. That might be the thing that makes me get a Switch 2. And it's going to be hard for me to pass that up. I can't I can't explain, if you weren't there when Ocarina of Time came out, how much that changed everything from like a gaming perspective. Like kids who didn't talk about video games at all during lunchtime at school were talking about Ocarina of Time. My dad was talking about that game. He didn't even play video games, but he remembered talking about how he saw an article in a local newspaper talking about how like awesome that game was. And I just remember playing it as a kid, renting it from Hollywood Video and trying to cram the whole adventure in a 5-day rental period before he had to give the game back, and just being so overwhelmed with like, I've never experienced anything like this. And it's obviously, you can't just pick up the game today and get that same sense. It's impossible. The game's just too old. The graphics are, they are what they are, what they were at the time, and what they are now is not. You can't see it in the same lens. And obviously some of the gameplay mechanics just are a little bit outdated. A remastered version would be the closest thing I could do to relive playing that game again for the first time. Now, I would love it if the temples got reworked, the dungeons got reworked, so it's not the same exact puzzles that you've been walking through every single time. That would be cool to me. After watching the Star Fox demo, where it seems like the level they showed off is pretty much the same as the 64 version, just with a new coat of paint and new dialogue and stuff like that, which is cool. But it seems like it's going to be the same. They're not like reworking anything within the levels. It's still the same beat per beat kind of thing. So I'm kind of worried that the Ocarina of Time gameplay wise, like the actual puzzles and everything, is just going to be the same. So be it. I still might get that though. I still might get the Switch 2 just to experience Ocarina of Time for the first time again. And if you weren't somebody who was around back in 1998, give it a shot. Get the remastered a shot. That's you won't be disappointed. It's a fantastic video game. Still is today. But with some modern tweaks here and there, it could be even better. News of tournaments that may be of interest to the casual listener of the Popcast. Believe it or not, it is Low Ink Week. Happy Pride Month, Low Ink. We got 40 some odd teams signed up for it on Monday. We want to get at least somewhere in the upper 60s so that we can bring back Gamma Bracket. You kids aren't in school anymore. You don't got any other excuses. Come out and play in Low Ink. And enjoy all the perks that come along with that. Also, the Splatoon 3 North American League playoffs are going on this weekend as well. I believe that's Saturday and Sunday. They're doing the cast. Don't worry. The teams that are playing in the playoffs are banned from Low Ink. So no worrying about overlapping there between those players. Big weekend for the grassroots and overlord side of things within competitive Splatoon. Good stuff. Today, we are going to be talking with Ellie, the head TO and mastermind behind the Splat World Series Global Gauntlet and all of the related events that go along with that, talking about viewership within the competitive Splatoon community. And Ellie is going to explain to everybody how we can save the entire community. And this is not going to be an episode that you want to miss. If you are not watching this live, you missed it. But there's still some value you can get out of this, because Ellie is going to be dropping some insane truth bombs. Unbelievable truth bombs during their guest segment a little bit later. All that and more. But first, by the way, there is no taking your call segment here. So if you want me to acknowledge you guys, why I would want to do that, I don't know. But if you want to an attempt to have me actually acknowledge you guys, leave a highlighted message in chat. I will go back at the end of the segment, read through the highlighted message. And if it is dumb, you will lose your ability to communicate with me ever. Ever. I do not ban you guys. I just mute you. Because if I ban you, you go on social media. Well, I got banned for Popgun. Well, no. I just mute you and just give you the silent treatment for the rest of your life. It has been a jam-packed spring for spectator Splatoon events this past spring. Probably the most events that you would want to set aside time for to watch in competitive Splatoon's history. The LAN Championship Showdown took place a couple of months ago. You had both Global Gauntlet events, that with the second one wrapping up just a few weeks ago. The Sindow Q Finals has been a consistent thing, running every 3 months. We had that about a month ago as well. Don't forget, 20XX took place this year as well. The Dapple Productions major Splatoon event, 2-day event. And, of course, just to throw something else into all of that, not including Ludi, mind you, with a big Ludi season taking place during all of this stuff, the Season 2 of the Splatoon 3 North American League has just wrapped up its 8-week regular season on top of 2 weeks of preseason, with the playoffs coming up right around the corner for a total of 11 weeks, 12 if you include the bye week between the end of the regular season and the playoffs. And I'm probably missing something too. What, is there like a significant LAN? I mean, you could throw MomoCon in there. I wouldn't, but it is still a big-ish, deal-ish kind of event, with Glommel coming up and Riptide right around the corner at the end of summer. Splat World Series is yet to make an appearance as well. Now that the Global Gauntlets are in the way, it's now shifting attention over to the Splat World Series, where we are going to crown a world champion, or likely a Japan first, second, and third champion. We come up with that. My point being, there has been a lot of big spectator-oriented events that have gone on in a short amount of time here. And if this was any other point in competitive Splatoon's history, we would be looking at this and saying, man, we are really spoiled that all these great high production value events are going on right on top of each other. That must mean that there is a lot of viewership coming in for all these events to support and justify all these events taking place. Because arguably, this is the most stacked our scene has ever been from that perspective. Now, I don't have the exact numbers of who's been watching all this stuff in comparison to who's been watching events 3, 4, 5 years ago. So a lot of this is just kind of going off of memory, which is a horrible way to frame your argument. It's the same concept as when somebody comes forward and says, the teams from Low-Inc, they're scared to play in open events. When, if you just look at their profiles, look at their results page on all of their little Sindow bios, you'll find that's total nonsense. No, Low-Inc teams, in fact, do play in open events. Pretty significantly, they play in open events. But when we're stuck into this narrative of just, well, I just think this, so I'm going to present it as fact, that's where it starts getting a little bit annoying. I'm about to present a lot of information to you guys that is something I just think is fact, because I don't have a way to prove it. Maybe I could dig through the archives of the viewerships of like every stream IPL has done, and I probably could do that, but I'm not going to do that today. You're just going to have to trust me on this one. Just trust me on this one. I wouldn't lie to you guys. And if I did, you guys wouldn't pick up on it anyways. But it's obvious to anyone who actually pays attention to the viewership numbers over the past several years. The numbers are not what they used to be. IPL has had a goal for a while now to become a Twitch partner, which means you essentially have to, average 75 viewers per stream. And I think you have to have 14 streams within a 30-day period. And then you meet those requirements and you apply to be a partner. And then they tell you about all the secret requirements that they didn't tell you about and be like, you didn't meet our secret requirements, IPL. You can't actually be a partner with us. How could you have not known you should have done more than what we told you we needed? That was frustrating. But it used to be SOS would easily clear 100 on an average. In Low Ink, oh my gosh, Low Ink was a viewership cash cow. Grand Finals easily get 200, if not more, especially if it went into a bracket reset. But day 1 and day 2, you would easily average more than 75. You would get about 100 average. And I'm talking about like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, you were getting these kinds of numbers. But IPL wasn't streaming enough. We weren't hitting that stream requirement to where we could apply for partner off of that. Well, now we're pretty much, with the addition of the Popcast and other things that we've been putting out on streams on Twitch, we pretty easily hit, or at least there is a period of time where we can, when there's like a Riptide going on in the same time as a Low Ink with a bunch of SOSs and Popcast episodes, we're getting the numbers as far as like the required streams for things like this. But the average has gone down significantly across the board for all our events. Yeah, the peak, like an SOS will peak past 75, but average, not even close. Not even close to what it used to be. Now, a lot of factors goes into this. I want to point out 2 major events that didn't just give a jolt of life to the community, but kept it alive and sustained for an extended period of time. These are the 2 biggest events to take place that have bolstered the competitive Splatoon scene for a significant amount of time. Number 1, the pandemic. Back in 2020, when the whole world shut down and we had no choice but to sit in our house and play Animal Crossing and competitive Splatoon, amongst many other things. I mean, the pandemic led to a bunch of online things. So it's kind of, it's not a breaking news to say that competitive Splatoon flourished when we were all stuck in our homes playing online tournaments during that time. Remember the Splatoon Overlord event that took place during that summer had over 600 teams sign up for it? In just a giant single elimination tournament. That was a funny time. But that is the one thing everyone points to. Man, this Nintendo used to get 600 teams in the tournaments. Now they're only getting like 25 a week in these latter stages. Yeah, things were different when we were stuck in our houses. We had no other options. We couldn't go outside. Couldn't interact with people. We couldn't go to LANs. Yeah, let's just stay inside and play a giant single elimination tournament hosted by Nintendo. Why not? Things are a little bit different now. Of course, we're not going to get to that 600 team thing, but that was a period of time when competitive Splatoon took a big step forward. That was the period of time when Low Ink transitioned from being a day 1 tournament to being a day 2 tournament, because it was getting like 40, 50, 30 teams before. And then after that big surge in that Nintendo tournament, we were getting 100 plus every single month, up to the point to where it didn't make sense to run a 1-day tournament anymore. It had to be 2, and that's where we're at today. The second big event that has jolted the community and has kept it sustainable for a couple of years: the release of Splatoon 3. The new game. The new Splatoon 3 coming out after everybody had spent the entire pandemic buying a Switch. And maybe they didn't get into Switch 2, but they were waiting for, or Splatoon 2, but they're waiting for the new game to come out. And when the new game came out, they got it. And now we got a bunch of new people joining the scene immediately with the brand new video game. A brand new video game that was awful. Awful at launch, by the way. Absolutely awful. Salmon Run was unplayable. A broken, glitchy mess. It was very difficult to get into lobbies, and with all the connection issues going on, there were tournaments that it just felt like there's no way we're going to get through this, because you would join a lobby and it would crash And it wasn't anybody's fault. Like, everybody's on LAN connection. You switch hosts all the time. We just can't play the game. All right, what do we do here, TO? I don't know. Splash and Machine, that was it. Just those two things over and over and over again. That was the only weapons people were using and winning with in competitive Splatoon. It didn't matter. Viewership had skyrocketed because of that. Participation skyrocketed because of that. It wasn't too long after Splatoon 3 came out, we had a LOINC that had over 200 teams signed up for it. 200 teams in a LOINC. Can you imagine? I couldn't. So much so we had to sit here and come up with a doomsday plan if we ever got 256 teams. What kind of format will we use to determine a champion over the course of 2 days while making sure this tournament doesn't last forever? Crazy times. And we fed off the energy of Splatoon 3 coming out for a long, long time. And viewership was up as well. I mean, obviously everybody wants to tune in to see the brand new video game being played. Nobody really, remember we played Riptide. The day Splatoon 3 came out, there was the Riptide side event, which was just Splatoon 3. And that was interesting for all the wrong reasons. And there was a lot of stalling that took place for the folks that were casting on stream because nobody knew how to get anyone into a lobby. And I don't think the overlords anticipated 100 plus people trying to play a LAN tournament the first day that game came out. And yet, here we are. I remember, though, as good as viewership was, there were some old heads who had been around esports for a while that knew better. I went on to a show that Ken Knows hosted. It was Ken Knows, me, and Spoon. And I want to say somebody else, but I forget who that other person was. But the topic was, now that Splatoon 3 is out, how do you feel about how things are progressing from an esports perspective? And I went on, and I was this very positive, like, wow, this, like, viewership has increased, participation has increased, like, this has been an amazing jolt to the community. Splatoon 3 launching has been awesome. And Spoon, and this is before the Resurgence, I think the Resurgence lead had been announced, but this was before it actually took place. Spoon was talking about how, like, actually, this is not good. Actually, this is a brand new game from a first-party developer the size of Nintendo, and events are getting like 100 plus 200 live stream viewers. That's not good at all. That's actually extremely bad and extremely low. And me coming from the perspective of knowing where we were at the end of Splatoon 2 to where we were at the start of Splatoon 3, couldn't wrap my head around it. But you start to look at some of the other esports and you start to realize what Spoon was getting at there is that this is a jolt of life, but it wasn't the big boost that we were kind of hoping that it ultimately would be, that would transcend this game into esport category, which obviously it is not at. So those two things happen. Do we need a new pandemic? No. 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 And I would hope that we don't get one. And obviously the side effects of our entire society is still dealing with issues from the last pandemic, regardless of what it did to online communities. And is Splatoon 4 coming out anytime soon? No, I think at minimum we're 2-3 years away from a Splatoon 4 coming out. I mean, Splatoon Raiders is right around the door, and I'm not going to sit here and say one way or the this is going to revitalize Splatoon 3. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's going to hurt. I definitely don't think it's going to hurt. Maybe there'll be somebody who'll buy Splatoon Raiders. That's their introduction, and then they'll just be curious and be like, well, what if I just get Splatoon 3 now? I mean, I could play it on my Switch too. Why not? Maybe that's the angle they're going for, but I don't see this being the jolt that the community needs. Now, maybe there'll be more people watching a Splatoon Raider stream and getting to like know how that works. But I don't know what kind of effect that's going to have on Splatoon 3. Regardless, though, the new game Splatoon 4, we're a long way away from something like that taking place. We're going to be stuck with Splatoon 3 for a long time. And even when Splatoon 4 comes out, I hope I'm wrong. I get the sense that it's not going to have the same amount of people buying it frame one as Splatoon 3 did. Like, we're not coming out of a pandemic where everyone's just got a brand new video game Switch and are looking for a new game to play. There's a lot of people who don't have a Switch too. And I know Mario Kart World has 15 million copies sold, and I know Japan's probably going to just gobble it up before it even gets released. But I don't know. I don't anticipate it having the same initial sales that Splatoon 3 did, just because I question how many people are going to have a Switch 2 by then. And of course, I don't look at the numbers too deeply, so I could be completely wrong with that. But I don't see us getting another surge in participation anytime soon in the ways that we have in the past. However, when it comes to viewership that we're talking about here being a little bit down, let's be clear about what we're talking about. We're talking about the mainstream tournament, like an IPL stream, a Dapple Productions stream, a Grandma Got Run Over by the Reindeer Cup stream. Those things, while those are appearing to be turning down, it's the player POVs that appear to be just the same, if not better, than what they've ever been. Especially, this is highlighted by the Splatoon 3 North American League, where whenever somebody from Moonlight is streaming, or Hypernova, or Milky Way, or Cream Soda, or whoever, more people are tuning in to watch those perspectives. And it especially takes place whenever there's a major going on. And I find myself in this category as well. I've seen so many tournament broadcasts which are just, here's Splatoon music or other video game music, Undertale music or whatever, while we wait for the next match to get started. And here's two commentators just blabbing away while they wait for the match to get started. And then there's the match. And it's not even the match you want to watch. The match you want to watch isn't on stream. So I find myself not watching the main broadcast myself and I'm just going to find the team I actually want to watch the whole way through and just stick with them the entire time. I find myself watching Moonlight the vast majority of the time rather than the main broadcast of any tournament that's going on. And I think the average viewer for these tournaments, or should I say the only viewer for these tournaments, are coming from people that are within the competitive scene as well, and not so much people that are casuals tuning in being like, what is this? Or I heard about this and now I want to tune in to see what it is. I think if you are watching this right now, live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, you are probably the main person who is watching all of these streams. I've seen enough. I've seen enough of these things. I get the gist. I don't need to watch another SOS being won by some pickup I don't know. I'm not going to tune in for that. I've seen that 200 times. Low Ink is probably getting a little stale to people as well. I completely understand that. But I don't need to see that stuff anymore. But I will watch a POV, somebody's personal stream with their team VC going on. I'll tune in for that. And I'll happily watch that because I find that more interesting than the main cast. And I think a lot of people who are just kind of getting stale watching all of these other casts that we've seen over and over and over again are turning more into the POVs. Now, this rule of more people watching a player stream versus the main broadcast, that doesn't apply to the Splatoon 3 North American League. It doesn't. But that doesn't mean it's necessarily a good thing. The Splatoon 3 North American League, which streams on both YouTube and Twitch, combined with those two, essentially gets about 1,000 live viewers at a time, which blows anything we do out of the water. Anything in the grassroots scenes, we're not even within a sniff of that. The Splat World Series probably won't even come close to a regular season week of that. But when you stop and think about it, Splatoon 3, which is part of a franchise that is, over 10 years old at this point. There's a tournament being run by the developer of the game. And it is on a Twitch and YouTube channel that has millions of followers. And the maximum amount combined from those two viewership you're getting live is 1,000? 1,000? That's how many viewers we get for a doggone Ludi seeding broadcast stream. Hey guys, you want to know what seeding you're going to get? You want to know what your div is? More people will tune in for that than will watch the Overlord events. That is crazy. And this isn't just some chump thing they're throwing out there. They're putting out content every single Friday. They're putting out consistent content to bring in people from the community to help hype it up, to help drive interest in this event. And it's just getting 1,000. That is concerning, because you're just looking at that saying, if Nintendo can't get more than that, what are we at the grassroots who are not spending any money on this? How are we supposed to break that barrier as well? It just feels, it feels rough. It feels rough looking at that kind of viewership, because yes, it is high compared to everything else, but in the grand scheme of things, you would want that to be way bigger. Now, all of this only matters in the perspective of how you are looking at this. Do you want this Splatoon 3 to be this big esport thing that's bringing in sponsors and has actual legit teams that are paying professional people to play this game professionally in tournaments with payouts and money and stuff like that, and all production people being paid and commentators being paid and TOs being paid and all of that stuff? Or are you kind of satisfied with where the community is? Because there's plenty of people who like competitive Splatoon for the whole appeal of it being a small grassroots community in the grand scheme of esports as far as they're concerned. You see a lot of that. You see a lot of people who, I don't want this to become too corporate. I don't want this to become like Smash Brothers, where Nintendo is constantly looking down and what are you guys doing this time? You staying out of trouble? Yeah, we're not doing anything. Just playing our silly little Squid Game, having fun. So it just matters how you view it. Because if you like how the scene is, you probably don't care too much that we're not getting tons of viewership for all these events that are being put forward. These high production value events where you look at it and say, man, did the people who spent hours putting this together, do they feel like they've got a fair return on investment on these things based on how many people are watching this? Because participation's fine. I mean, look at Ludi. Over 400 teams played in that. That's still doing good. Low ink numbers are down. I think that's more so to do with the fact that less new people are joining the game, and as we ban people every month, the pool of people who can sign up gets smaller. Yes, there's tons of teams that are eligible for low ink, but we're not getting the more new teams, and we're kicking more and more people out every month. Well, maybe you should lower the skill cap. Stop. Yeah, blah. None of that out of you. By the way, participation in Splatoon 3 North American League, it's not good. But participation across the board, SOS still getting their 40-ish to 50-ish teams every single week. Paddling Pool, Triton Cup, those things have all been pretty consistent across the board. And when we have big name events, we still have plenty of big name teams and more big name teams starting to step up into that higher echelon, that higher tier that are worth watching. So there's plenty of healthy things here. And there's plenty of beyond talented production folks who can put things together. All the recipes are in the right spot for this to be something worthwhile watching. So why is it not worthwhile for people to watch? Again, it comes down to the fact that we, the competitive folks in the scene, are the only ones watching this, How do we transcend that and capture the casual audience, let them know we exist, and create a product that they will want to set aside time to tune in and watch? That is the question all of us have, and that's the question Ellie is going to answer for us coming up rather shortly. First off, I think there was one highlighted message, and we got two. How do you get a .gov domain? Work for the government. DBOx. What I'm hearing is that the players themselves interest you. Honestly, that's a bit reassuring considering all the Twitter and Blue Sky posts who say stuff like, all these comp players aren't interesting. Now, you got to keep, that's a fair point, but you got to keep this in mind, Ox. DBOx _ Splatoon. I am hosting a competitive Splatoon podcast that I've been hosting for about 6 years now. I am not the average viewer. I am in a little bit too deep. So what I will find interesting is not a fair comparison to what the casual viewer will find interesting. I will sit and watch a Moonlight stream all day long because I am that invested in the competitive Splatoon scene. But will that transcend to the vast majority of the audience who don't think these things are interesting or won't tune in? I don't think I'm a fair comparison for that, if that makes sense. But point well taken regardless. We need to get a lot of people to post Low-Ink ads in the Plaza post. Yes, that's what's wrong with Low-Ink. We're not advertising in the video game. That's a great point. We're going to switch on over to stuff that is happening, and this is why we do the weekly recap, because I know you guys don't watch these events. But I did. Unless I didn't. It is now time for the weekly recap. Paddling pool number 373 took place on Wednesday. It was won by Le Petov, a team that was made up of World, Yoshi, CL, and Phoenix. A crying, laughing emoji, question mark, exclamation point team finished in second place. And Blank Z rounds out your top three. 23 teams played in that edition of Paddling Pool that took place last Wednesday. The winning team did so without dropping a single match. Later that evening, SOS number 229 took place. It was won by OCE. So congratulations to Australia / New Zealand, who the United States in Football World Cup will be playing in a couple of weeks. Or actually on Friday. Well, they ended up winning SOS. C'est bien. Booyah. Ended up finishing in second. Got a couple of French folks on that team. And MSCHF rounds out your top three. Well, okay, well, now I know why nobody watches these things. Because, like, what did I even just read off? That doesn't inspire anything or anybody. 49 teams played in this edition of SOS. And if I could pull up the bracket here, Hammerhead bracket was won by Screenplay. Mako bracket was won by Built Like Grand Roll. And Lantern bracket was won by Register for SWS 26 Qual on July 18th and 25th. I guess there's another way we could advertise our events. How about that? Triton Cup number 151 took place last Friday. It was won by the Bill Collectors. Have you ever played Triton? Finished in second place. Obviously, you haven't. And Kudabunda rounds out your top three. Americans won the EU tournament because everybody's out of school or either fired from their jobs. I'm assuming 21 teams played in the Splat Zone's only Triton Cup event. The CCA had an event this past weekend. The Collegiate Crossfire took place on this Saturday. This year, the Crossfire extends beyond the Atlantic and now includes our new friends across the Pacific. University Cup from Japan, featuring 4 teams from the CCA, the NSE, and University Cup that is the CCA's biggest invitational of the year. Here's the podium. The University of Tokyo team, ARK99, they finished first place. The Kyushu University team, 4 problem childrens, but the strongest. They finished in second. And the Osaka Metropolitan University team finished in third, tied with another. Okay, so they did an invitational with Japan, and Japan destroyed the CCA teams. That's what I'm getting out of that. Yikes. Man, does Japan have to beat us at everything? They didn't want to send them like their equivalent of Div 5 and just let them run low ink too? Jeez. And that was your weekly recap. Sponsored by the CCA, the Collegiate Cruise at Riptide 2026, one of the biggest, largest in-person collegiate tournaments in North America. The CCA is returning to the Kalahari Resort to see which collegiate team will take home the crown in its 4th year of running. If you're a university team heading to Riptide, consider signing up and joining us for this historic event. Last year, they had 16 collegiate teams. Join them so we can help you join us in the breaking that record. The CCA, the collegiate crew at Riptide, and now the official sponsor of today's segment of the weekly recap. From the Ink Up 102 happened 2 weeks ago. Who cares about 2 weeks ago? Playing from the Ink Up this upcoming week, though. And now, if we get rid of this, where is Ellie? That's a great question. It was not a week ago because there's a From the Ink Up this upcoming week, which would mean that there would not be one because it is a bi-weekly tournament. I'm assuming you won. Is that why you're bringing it up, Mouse? Do you want to? You can plug yourself if you want. It's totally fine. Just do it in chat where nobody has to deal with it right here. Okay, now let's try to do this thing here. I want to stop.
Stop.
Turn it on. Share this. Nope.
Not quite working.
Everything's, well, it's working for you.
Oh.
I just want to help you out and they give you something to look at instead of just staring at your...
I can look at you on a 30-second delay.
Well, there you go. That's going to have to be how this thing works out then, because it has been, admittedly, it has been a while since I've had a guest on the Popcast. But here we are. I'm glad that you can break that streak for us, Ellie. So welcome into the Popcast. The head TO for the Splat World Series and its affiliated events, and also the spectator cam person who likes to zoom in whenever somebody falls off the stage. Ellie, how's morale today?
Morale's good. I'm dead tired. I didn't think you would wake me up with a one-up on the podcast. I was drinking a lot last night. I didn't get much sleep. It's not... Morale's good. Energy is not so good.
Well, that's great. You know, I was just thinking about who I was going to bring on. I was going to do taking the call segment, but then I saw you tweet out something about the viewership that went on this past weekend in Japan, and how you said, "Oh, I'm cooking up something," essentially, because I think CKK was like, "Hey, what, how can we capitalize off of this?" So I brought you on here because I wanted to ask you that, but we'll get to that a little bit later.
Sure.
Your first video game memory is what?
My first video game memory? I think it was me having my controller unplugged for Super Mario Bros. Wii. Like, I was like, four. I was like getting tricked into playing or not playing.
So like how let's make our little sibling think they're helping and give them a controller?
Yeah, I got little broed.
Okay.
Was off playing. It's not even like it wasn't multiplayer. Like, I remember we were in front of the TV in the living room. There's like 4 players. All of his friends were over, and I was like the 5th player with nothing plugged in. So, unideal. But,
okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like a miserable first memory to have.
No, it's excellent. There's a YouTube video of it still up, like from 13 years ago, and he can't take it down because the account's like long gone. It's a beautiful. I'm content.
Okay. Are we gonna ever reference that video? Are you gonna make it big
Absolutely
someday? Absolutely. Okay.
not.
Fair enough. What esports or other video games do you pay attention to that's not competitive Splatoon?
Um, like I do work for LPL English, this being Chinese League of Legends, like their tier one scene. But to say I like pay attention to it would be excessive. Like I have an unfortunate amount of Twitter usage, so I see a lot from, the people that I work with together, like posting, and then like by extension I see their community things like I really love Hoopu Esports and whatnot. So that's the extent I like follow it. But to say I really like keep up with League, not so much the case. Like in that same regard, I like watch Valorant in the sense of like whatever comes to my timeline through my timeline or CKK, but I'm not like a super esports watcher in any case.
What would be your hopes for the competitive Splatoon scene? Are you somebody who looks at things and be like, I like how small it is, it feels nice and compact, or do you want it to be a big deal, kind of in esport?
Okay, I'd love for it to be a big deal, but I don't think it's something that we as like unpaid volunteers can do. So I like temper my expectations because we're not gonna be a big sport. I'd like to grow. I'd like to spread this game that we love to everyone, but I'm realistic.
So you would, okay, that I mean that's fair enough to say, but you put in a lot of work into this. Like you, I think the community sees what you've been doing with the Global Gauntlet, with the Splat World Series, with other just random things you just kind of pull. Oh, here's this Kirby tournament that I just made for I forget even what it was.
Common dreams.
Yes,
I think so.
that. Like I think the community sees that kind of effort, and I don't know. Do you feel like you get a proper return of investment for the amount of time that you put into things?
Absolutely not. But I like doing what I do. Like the amount of work it takes to run Global Gauntlet Splat World Series is demonic, and I'm glad you were saying let's run twice, maybe four times a year when we did this the first time. Absolutely not. I'm glad we stuck with this yearly thing. It's so much work, and I think the product is like beautiful, pays off, like it fulfills me. But if I had to do any more, it like I'm good.
Yeah. Well, my original vision as we were figuring things out last year was, oh, this is going to be such a great thing to put together. We can just get the teams and we can just do that on a 3 month basis. And then I saw the amount of work that went into it leading up to that, and I remember DMing you and being like, "Yeah, let's. You're right. Let's not do that. That's a bad idea." Um, and fair enough. I think the 1 year kind of thing with the Global Gauntlet mixed in kind of works out well. How did Global Gauntlet go from your perspective? Both of them.
Um. Okay, so like started teams. The bar was low to begin with, so it's not like I could have been disappointed because we had the declaration Inkopolis already, so we were at the low. um, and I expected like we take a game, so I'd say I'm like pleasantly surprised. Not to say that we're at the caliber that can podium Splat World Series. I'd love to, but I think we'll put more of a fighting chances here. So the intention behind Global Gauntlet was give teams like the ability to practice with the people that regularly like belt to somewhere, and I
Ass.
think that practice paid off.
um, Viewership wise, was there a specific goal you had going into any of these events? Like, did it get close to what you were hoping for?
No and no. Um, so I didn't like have any expectation in mind because Global Gauntlet runs at like a terrible hour a day, and so does Flat World Series. So I think that's just an unfortunate reality that we're not gonna get like all the viewers, and most of the viewership we're gonna get is going to be in follow up content or a rebroadcast, right? So live viewership wise, I was looking at the numbers like, wow, that sucks. But I'm not all that disappointed by it because it's to be expected. Um, on the Japanese side, I don't have the exact numbers because I didn't like go like tally up all the streams, but like Global Gauntlet one was crazy, thanks to Chocopero and Lobster and whoever. Second one a little bit less crazy, but still like well surpassed expectations. Earlier in the show, you were like, Spiral Series doesn't come close to beating in like the Overlord tournament, but like if you include player POVs, which we should be doing, like we are maybe like 4 or 5 times above them for live viewership. Pretty good.
Well, okay, if you play that card, then you got to include the POVs for the Overlord events as well, and then that like
Yeah.
doubles, if not triples, if Kyo and Shadowwind
Yeah.
are streaming and things like that. Um, so what kind of motivates you after the end of last Splat World Series? What motivated you to say, okay, let's make this even bigger next year, which you obviously have?
Well, it's like I like the idea of a world championship. Like you bring like I like playing Splatoon. I'm not like so much a Splatoon like lore person, but I love Splatoon as like a movement shooter, and I think it's the game's depth is so interesting. So I want to see people that are better than I could ever imagine to be good out, and that to me is a world championship. The last time was not so good, right? Like um, unideal performance. So what bigger ended up being is answering the question, how can we close the gap? How can we make that, world stage something that is more than just a novelty, like a real competition? And that's where we're at now.
Have you been paying attention to Japan's viewership over the past weekend? I woke up yesterday. I looked at Blue Sky, and somebody's like, "Oh my gosh, there's 300,000 people watching Splatoon at 7 in the morning." Did you see
Yeah,
that?
I did, and it's not the first time either because this is like a continuation. I think this is because before there was like VCC Inkfest. I don't remember what this one's called, but it's just like a big streamer tournament. Like you bring in big Japanese streamers from other titles, put them on Splatoon, and that's what we get. So yeah, I did too.
So what are you working on? Are we going to have Chugga Conroy come back and do a tournament against
I'd like to.
Failboat?
Okay, it's not like I'm going to make VCC Inkfest the American version, but I recognize the value and like the momentum built by these events, and I want to find a way to work that into Splat World Series.
Why Splatoon? What's the appeal to you?
I suck at tac shooters. I like Splatoon. It, that's just really it. It's a game I'm good at. Ish. It's a game I find interesting, like from an analytical perspective. Commit to it.
Um, one of the reasons there's been a lot of people watching Japan, as you kind of mentioned out, is them reaching out to their high viewership streamers. I think Gone. I watched Jared's video yesterday highlighting Gone was streaming it, a Valorant player. That's not a newish concept to the West. I remember 20XX had like a couple of years ago, they had Failboat and Jmoji doing an analyst desk. And it wasn't like they were giving like the splatter shot needs to capture the plat kind of. It was just like them just being themselves and reacting what they're seeing. Chugga Conroy had this one thing like 3 years ago where they just come into the scene. I think they were just doing a playthrough, a single player or something like that, or was trying to get to like X rank or something. And they got a lot of people in the community together, and it's just like we did one tournament, and then that was it. And like everyone was like, "Oh, this is going to jolt things," and not so much. Um, have you or us at IPL ever considered just reaching out to big name streamers and just trying to get them involved? And like, who would we even reach out to? Like, are we gonna get Eyes Show Speed here or something like that?
That'd be ideal. I don't think so. Maybe. Um, I mean, we have specifics. I pulled up the sheet, but maybe I shouldn't share it. Yeah, it's something like when I said we're working on it, doesn't mean like I have some like huge
Right.
collaboration planned. But it's like we're aware of what's going on in Japan, and we're wondering how we can tap into that and then do it on our side of the pond as well.
Uh, are you going to Japan?
Yeah, I'm going to Japan at the end of November for Area Cup Live.
Okay, so can you tell us about that at all? Like how you got involved with that?
Um, well, I wanted to go to LAN, and I'd love to go to Riptide, but I'll be damned if I fly to the United States of America at this point in time. I'm not. I'm a little bit insane, but not that crazy.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I mean, we work with Area Cup like very frequently, and I don't know why, but I'm the point of contact for like all Japanese events. I'm Chinese. I don't know how I got here, but I'd like to pay our let's say colleagues from across the pond visit, show up to their event.
So you're not
Nothing
going
fun.
as like a production person. You're just kind of going as a observer.
Um, yeah, as a spectator. I am going to jump on Roy and say, can you let me observe a few sets? But that's about the extent of it. I don't speak Japanese. So I don't want to get in their way.
How's it been working with Area Cup? They've been chill to work with.
Absolutely, Roy is like that guy is a machine. I don't know what the inner working of Area Cup looks like, but from my perspective, like that guy does like everything. He puts on a lot of work.
What is the difference between a Japanese cast that you would like to eventually implement into a Western cast?
Um, so we talked about this a little bit. I don't know if it's you or K-pop, but it was like the Japanese style of casting is just you put one really loud dude, Hemi, and then you just like bring a top player, and they've got like brain cells to talk about the game. So anytime there's downtime, you give it to them, and anytime it gets exciting, you give it to, the guy shouting, and then that's how the exchange goes. It's more like concrete roles. It's the same way you do like play by play in color with like League of Legends. Like you take turns. Anytime there's action, you designate to the specific guy, and I like that. I think I'm not that like set on that style of commentary being like better than what we have. Like we don't need distinct roles, but I like it for the idea of incorporating like top players into our cast a little bit more and like involving. Like I'd love to have like Jared on the mic, and then pair him with like Dark.
Yeah, I mean we have Shaq would be great for that. Shadow Win would be great for that. I mean, there's a lot of people who would be really good at that, and they just don't know it because like it's not just that you're a top player and you got knowledge, but you also bring a following with you. Like people want to know what you have to say, and like you don't have to be media trained. You don't have to be specifically eloquent with your words or anything like that. You just have to
Yeah,
talk, and people love hearing you talk.
yeah. Like not the people over on Area Cup. Like whenever they bring in like guest analysts that aren't like Razzie is like a very good analyst and like more in tune with the commentary side, but like they brought on like Momo for example for Global Gauntlet 2, and in with the least amount of disrespect possible, like he wasn't like very commentary oriented. He was just like providing his thoughts. And could I tell you what his thoughts said? No, but I'm just saying in the sense of like, as a top player, you don't have to be like very good at commentary. You just have to be there and like provide your thoughts. Like you're a personality as well.
How often do you look at another tournament stream? And it could be an IPL tournament stream
No,
where you just think like where you're just not happy with the production or you're like, "Oh, I would change this or I would do this kind of differently." Like what's the one thing that annoys you the most when you see
commentary.
commentary in general? What's
Yes.
the most annoying thing about that?
Um, I don't know how to phrase this because it's gonna like I have two conflicting opinions. One where we're like, we've been saying esport the entirety of this stream, but like we're not an esport, we're like a competitive community and we just like do things for fun. So in that sense, I'm like, okay, I get it. We shouldn't take things too seriously and people are there just to volunteer their time doing things for fun. And then the other side of me is like, wow, this cast is terrible. They're not talking about the so I'd want I'd like for people to take the cast a little bit more seriously. And like when they like hop on for weeklies, like we're like looking for ways to improve and grow as casters rather than just like shooting the splat.
You've been practicing those official terms that we learned from the overlords, haven't you?
Farron. Maybe they'll take me in too.
Are we alive on TikTok right now?
No, I was preoccupied when we went live, and I didn't want to send it live 20 minutes in.
Have we streamed on TikTok before? Not we, the Popcast, we IPL
Yeah,
streamed on TikTok. Has that been fruitful in any kind of measurable way?
I I don't know. I am not a TikTok user myself, so like I see a big number like that says 1,500 likes. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. And then I send that screenshot, and Chess is like, oh no, that sucks relative to TikTok. So I guess it sucks relative to TikTok, but it says 1.5 thousand, so that looks good to me.
Is there any way we could reach the casual audience? Because I've been talking a lot about how the people who watch competitive Splatoon are in the competitive Splatoon. Like it's hard to break that bubble. Is there any way you could think of that? And it would probably would require money. It would probably require a lot more effort. But is there a way to break that bubble and reach the casual audience?
Um, Not by us. I think no matter what, the official cast will be like too nerdy for most casuals. Like we're talking about like for like SWS, like we're talking about some counterplay and map picks and whatever. Like that is an event buy-in for us. So I don't think it's gonna be on the official cast. I think that there's definitely stock in you know the good players, people playing in SWS, doing their POV stream, sending that to TikTok. Like I feel like that's going to resonate a lot more with viewers than what we do.
Did the content that was created for the last Splat World Series, like just the simple like here's the teams from Japan, do you think that played a direct impact in the increased viewership? Because that Splat World Series YouTube stream, I think, is still our biggest YouTube stream ever by like 10,000 views or something like that.
I don't know 10,000, but I know it is our number one, and I think the build up is very very important. Like I think solidly 90% of tournament organizing is like your marketing plan and how you present the event. So by creating like it's like build up to the final stream and familiarizing everyone with the teams and whatever, it created a new sense of like excitement that hasn't been present before. Not for a while.
Okay, I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna make you the director of IPL. And on top of that, I'm going to give you a budget of $10,000. What are you going to do with that money?
Do I have to follow the Nintendo guidelines?
No.
Okay. We are going to fly out and attend Area Cup Live.
We? We're going to just
No, not
watch it?
we. No, no. You and I, we can go off our own wallets.
Okay.
We're gonna do a qualifier, and we're gonna probably send PXG overseas.
Okay. So, okay, I got you. Sending a team, paying for a team, flight, hotel, all that stuff to go participate in Area Cup for that.
Yeah, I think it'd be a lot more expensive and dangerous to send a bunch of Area Cup teams over to Ohio. I'm good. So yeah, I mean, 10,000 is not going to afford us the full Flat World Series. 8 teams fly over to Japan, but we can earn one team.
We'll keep an eye on the airline prices. We'll strike when the iron is hot. We'll work some of those credit card mileage points that we've built up with our IPL credit card. I'm sure we can get some frequent flyer miles worked in there. Um, what's next for you? Gearing up for Splat World Series. What's after that?
A long vacation, literally, because Area Cup Live, but taking a break, that's for certain. The the amount of time between Global Gauntlet 1, 2, and Splat World Series is like not a whole lot. So the work is consistent. Um, yeah, no, I'm gonna sleep for the rest of the year.
Fair enough. Where can people find you? Go plug yourself.
Um, you can find my Blue Sky Elemental at bluesky.social or something like that for incessant rambling, and my twitter.com is a lot of retweets. So that's it.
Ellie, you're looking fabulous today.
Thank you.
Even
I
if you
did my
claim
best.
you haven't gotten much sleep, do you just wake up like that, or do you have to like put effort into the
No, I took the
hair?
20 minutes before I got here to do all this. That was it.
What's on the wall behind you?
Um, a lot. let's put it in focus. Wait.
What's if there was one thing in your room you wanted to show off, what would it be?
I mean, I feel like this is all an item, but I like these because you got the passes from all my. I'm terrible with camera, and I'm doing this backwards. But I got like a lot of passes on my wall from all the things, all the lands I do. So I think that's the coolest part.
When's the next land that you're hosting?
July 4th, and we're in Canada, so we're not doing anything special. But July 4th, we're doing Van Coral Summer 2026 at the AMS Nest in Vancouver.
Ellie, you enjoy the rest of your day, which is 3 hours behind me, and don't work too hard. All right, because we that imaginary $10,000 that is imaginary. We don't have that.
It's not as imaginary as you think, and more on that coming soon. Hopefully.
Oh, okay. What, we sponsored by Doritos? Is that what's you breaking that news here on the podcast? What are we doing here?
I don't want to make promises, but I did get told something, so we'll see.
Okay, there we go. Healthcare on the way for IPL folks. I am all for that. So that was Elemental, aka Ellie, joining us on the Popcast. That's kind of been long overdue. Ellie's been on for the taking your call segment, but Ellie has a lot of interesting stuff. It does a lot of interesting things in the community. Probably should have had them on a little bit earlier. I'm glad I got the random idea to do that today. But that's going to do it for today's episode of the podcast. Nicely done, all of you. We'll be back next week recapping whatever happens in the playoffs and in Low Ink as well. A lot of big events going on this weekend. But if you would like to be a part of the podcast in any way, please feel free to reach out to my socials below. Twitter, Mr._Popgun. YouTube at 25 Popgun. Twitch at Popgun25. And I guess IPL TikTok if we ever get that figured out. But with that being said, stay safe, get vaccinated, wear a mask when applicable. And if you are rooting for any country in the World Cup, I hope they do well, unless I don't. And see you next week.